Welcome back to Bread and Butter, where we're serving up the basics for Hearthstone improvement. This is episode 143, and as always, I am joined by Pylet. Pylet, how are you today?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I have that exact shirt. In fact, I almost wore it today, so that would have been weird. We would have been twinning, and without even planning it, which would have been great. And we are joined by a very special guest. I don't know if I should say very special guest. I could probably say like extra host that pops up quite often. WorldEight. WorldEight. Welcome back to the show. How are you today?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on again and again and again.
I'm I'm
Happy to
I'm
be
I'm
here.
just glad I'm just glad that now that you are into podcasting, you aren't just, you have your own podcast. You weren't like, I've done enough podcasting. I don't need to. I have podcasting at home. I don't need podcasting elsewhere. So we're
I don't
glad to
have to
have
edit
you.
this, so it's
That
different.
does make a
That
difference.
This is a
that does
pleasure.
make a difference. And last week was weird because last week was it last week? Last week the Amazon cloud went down. So
Mm.
I had the regular episode out before the Raw because of the way the services worked and what I was able to get. And I wasn't able to edit it until like the day after the day after. And it was just such a pain in the butt, but we were able to get it done. What have you been doing in Hearthstone this week, Mr. 8?
This week was a lot of brawl. I kind of locked in 11x on standard, and just went to the brawl and had a lot of fun there. Just left standard kind of as it was. I got pretty close to 11x on wild, so the last day I pushed that, and I actually got there, which is pretty crazy because I haven't had 11x in wild in, I don't know, maybe this whole year. But it's pretty cool. There's some pretty busted stuff in wild, and just kind of hard carried me across the finish line. But it's mostly a lot of brawl, and I really like this brawl. I kind of wish they had started even a week earlier. Um, it's kind of a narrow field, but at the same time, lots of cards to try. So I'm having fun.
How about yourself, Pilot? How was your last week of the month?
Not great for me, but I didn't have a ton of time to play. I had Monday through Thursday. I got home at like 9:30 each day and did not have the mental energy to play Hearthstone and tried to climb in this meta that I already don't like. So Friday I got home early enough because we're done with football season. I'm like, all right, here we go. Let's try. And I was at D10. I got up to D2 and then ran into too many Death Knights too many times, and a couple just ran into Death Knights and Quest Warlocks constantly. I was playing the Pain aggro DH, which aggregate stats is favored into Quest Warlock, but like the specific, like the normal top list, it looks like is favored into the Pain DH in general. So seems even, but I could never quite get there. I'd almost have it, and then they'd roll the 5-3 3 turns in a row, and I'd concede. So it happens. It's the first time that I've missed Legend since I started getting Legend, so it's been a little over 5 years, but it's bound to happen. It surprisingly, it wasn't from a lack of games. I felt like I still got in almost 100 total games. I just struggled this month, and some of it was I was trying stuff, but I just over 100 games, 52% win rate, just kind of sat at the ranked floor too many times and too long. I did still get 10x, so I don't have as miserable of a climb or change of a climb for this month. And then today, after doing 6 hours of that Friday, did a palette cleanse with the brawl. I played a little bit of Triple Blood Death Knight with Talanji and Bonswamdi, with mixed results. It was okay, but I kept just couldn't quite get there. Had a couple of games I misplayed learning the deck, and then I switched to what I'm just going to call a tempo hunter, because it just kind of plays cards on curve and you just have stuff to do all the time. I did get 6 wins with that. It runs the Sylvanas, Fabled, goes up to Mountain Giants, and Umbra for the top end, Blobs of Tar, just stuff to do in the middle. Ended up getting 6 wins with that. A very, very close last game against, I went 6-2. The last game was against an Aura Paladin that ended up just short, and I had a timely bob to kind of get myself over the edge. I did have one weird game. The very first game of the run, I played a warrior and I drew whichever sister it is that buffs the deck last. Is it Verisa? Verisa. I got her last, but I had nothing to do one turn. So I played Bob and drew and got copies. So I got 3 copies of her, and I was playing 2 16, 17 mountain giants or mountain bears, whatever it is. It did not work, but it was fun and goofy.
Very, very nice, very nice. Sorry for your loss there on the streak. It's I find that there's always these streaks that keep us in games, like the dumb little games you play on your phones. It's like you keep playing because you're keeping the streak going, and once you finally get like you miss a streak for some reason, it's like kind of almost like a relief, and that game goes away. So I can understand why they do that, and this is why I always panic around like the 15th of the month, normal day, and I still haven't hit legend. I'm like, I'm running out of time
I
because I
think you
just
were
don't want to.
panicking for me on the 15th. You saw me
I
at
think I
silver on
was.
the 15th, and you're like, what are you doing? It's like, why are you playing whatever mode you're playing?
Yeah, no, fair.
It was
So
earned.
I haven't played a ton of Hearthstone. Well, I played a lot of the Brawl. Uh, this week I didn't stream at all since the theory crafting until I think I streamed last night, but I don't think I streamed the entire week. I've just been kind of doing things. If you are watching the VODs, you'll see I am in a new space. I am now back in my parents' house after 50 years or whatever. So I have to live near where I work, and having a mortgage in an apartment, that seems like extra money. So for now, we're living in my parents' room, and this is not my old room. My dad lives in my old room upstairs, so this is the den. So we're kind of just taking over space. And today, oh well, that's life outside of Hearthstone. I have been playing. Like I did play a lot of the brawl. I got a few 6-win runs. I did my coin conceit coaching with Edelweiss, and we started off with Quest Warrior, which was really really good. And then they banned Quest, which I was kind of sad about. Not about the warrior being banned, or definitely not warlock, and definitely not paladin, but I kind of wish they would have left. I was going to start playing some rogue quest because I figured why not. Not saying that there's anything good in the expansion for rogue quest, but I thought it would be fun to just kind of do it in a limited set and see what we could have done and figured out. But I understand what they wanted to just make it so it wasn't going to be like whack-a-mole, like, hey, this quest is not good, this quest is now too powerful, whatever. So they just are like, hey, nope, we apparently didn't want you playing Quest when we put him in the set previously. So why do we want you playing Quest now? Stop it. And they stopped it. And then we had the turn of the season yesterday. So I started playing a lot more Frosty K. And then I said, you know what? It's still early enough. So we're back at the Rye Cleaver Hunter. We're having some success. It's fun. I'm playing the version of the lists that Max. I wrote my own list again, and then I took the one that Maxibon gave me after I said, "Hey, you said you were going to give me a list. Where's my list?" And he gave me a list. So, been playing that. That's been a lot of fun. It's pretty good. It's not. It can definitely miss. It needs more weapon tutor outside of bargain bin, but it's fun. Um, I enjoy it, and I will keep playing it probably till I hit diamond, and then we'll switch to something good. I'm almost there. I think I'm at platinum 4 or something like that. I don't remember, something like that. I'm higher than Pylet was around the 28th of the month last month, so I think I'm doing all right.
Yeah.
But WorldEight, what have you been doing outside of the game?
Outside of the game, quite a few things. Obviously Halloween came and went. So went trick or treating with the boys around a nearby neighborhood. That was great. Just kind of living vicariously through them. Got two boys at different ages, and the older one knows how to run to each house and maximize candy collection, and the younger one is just like, hey, I've got a costume, everyone should see my costume. And like he kind of like gleans the idea that there's candy involved, and at the very end of the night he's like, whoa, candy. Because he was my wife had made this terrific like monster truck outfit, like out of cardboard, and she had like headlights on it. She had spray painted all red and like hand painted flames on the side, and it's a cartoon character, so the cartoon character has eyes. If anyone had seen Blaze in the Monster Machines, that's the character. But anyway, Halloween was terrific. Weather was perfect for it. Just a great weekend too. So we went to the Philadelphia Zoo for a little bit today. My friends and I have been playing Gloomhaven on and off like once a month or something. We're taking our time with it. Each scenario takes, I don't know, like 2-3 hours. We're just kind of, we're doing it mostly just to hang out. We're college buddies, and we all happen to be in the same general area, and it's mostly an excuse to get together. We're not, at this rate, it's going to take us 2-3 years to finish this, but we're okay with that. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me.
Pilot, how about yourself? What have you been doing outside now that you have a little more free time?
Struggling with my other hobbies as well. Kind of hit a week-long slump with my bowling. Had been bowling really well, and then just, I don't know if it's just fatigue at the end of marching band. I'm sure other people feel this, where you finally have something done and you're like, yes, I can recover, and then you spend a week just being dead exhausted when your body finally kind of catches up and all the exhaustion catches up. So I was struggling really badly. I ended up bowling. I had one game on Wednesday where I bowled 70 pins under my average. It was rough. So yeah, but on one plus side, my bowling alley, they did a ball raffle that I won. So I got a new ball drilled up today and threw it at my league today. And it's a nice kind of extra option for me, but started to kind of get out of my funk. I bowled consistent, decent games, so a little bit under where I normally am, but at least not all over the place. And I felt like I knew how to bowl again, so I'll take it. Outside of that, kind of been trying to find what my next like non-Hearthstone game is I'm going to play. Pretty sure it's going to be fully diving into Hades 2. I got a few runs in and started going through that again. I started a new save file with the 1.0 launch, and I've gotten, I think, 7 runs in, something like that. So that game's amazing, enjoyable. And then also been trying to find kind of just some shorter games to play. So I started a game called The Shady Part of Me that's on Game Pass. Really interesting little narrative kind of platformer game where you have 2 different people that you're controlling, one person who can't go in the light and then her shadow on the wall. Really, really interesting kind of back and forth mechanics. It's a short little game, so I think I'm about an hour into that. It's like a 5-hour game, so probably play that through the week, and then just kind of some other chill things to do outside of that, and then waiting on the new Lorcana set this weekend.
And there's also a new Hearthstone set, which is going to be,
I know.
fun.
This is
that comes out
2
on
sets
Tuesday.
in a row that where I think it's 2 in a row where Lorcana and Hearthstone and the new sets have come out like the same week, and I'm like, I can't keep up with all the cards. There's too much.
That's fair. That's fair. And good problems to have, right? Good first world
Yes.
problems to have. So I mentioned that I didn't stream at all last week, and that's mostly because I've been trying to. So we did the theory crafting, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna try to get as much of this content as I can and edit it down. And that's a lot. I started to do it while I was at my house, and then I realized I was leaving, so I tried to upload it, and there was so much footage I couldn't get it uploaded in time before I had to leave, so I had to start over again. And then as I'm going through it, it's really hard to go through some of this footage and find like 10 hours of footage and find like the good stuff that you want to put out there. And then I'm going through this kind of experience of, hey, what's going to work, what's not going to work in YouTube. I'm trying to make some gaming videos which don't do as well, and also shorts and all that. And plus last week we separated Bread and Butter from Tito Santana, so that's been a challenge. And so now I have to put some stuff here, some stuff there. I will tell you this. So I have a full-time job, and I have a family and dogs and cats and everything else. So my content creation time is my kind of like my nighttime and my hobby and whatnot. The people that do this and have a job and also put out lots of content, they work really, really, really hard. So I am impressed. And the folks that do it full time, I am very impressed with, because it is a hard thing to do, to make enough content and to find the things. And so not only do you spend all the time making the content, but you also have to putting the content together with, however you edit it and whatever, but you also have to make content to do that, and you also have to figure out, have good stuff. It's nuts, man. It's very interesting, and I have fun. I'm learning a lot, but it definitely takes a lot of time and a lot of just energy, and then edit the podcast and whatnot. So it's self done to myself. What do you call it? It's my own fault. I'm putting it on myself, but I'm still enjoying it. But we'll see where we are in a year or two. And then today we went to I went to a birthday party for my aunt. It was a surprise birthday party. She's 80, and this is an aunt I hadn't seen in a while. So she was like surprised that they had a birthday party, and then she saw me and she was like, "Oh my God, Jason!" Like, so it was like I was almost as big of a surprise as the surprise itself. So that was a lot of fun. Um, but yeah, um, Pilot, do we have any news this week?
We do have some news. Excuse me. So we got the .0 patch 34.0, which put out all the new cards for the set are in the client and will launch for standard and constructed play on November 4th. Pre-release brawl is live. We had community days this weekend, which by the time you're listening to this is over, unless you're in the live chat now. We had the one update that we talked about last week for constructed with Mr. Clocksworth going from 3 rewinds down to 2 while they're still working on speeding up that animation. A lot of Battlegrounds updates. Arenas updated with the card pool. It'll be Timeways, Lost City, Emerald Dream, Great Dark Beyond, Perils, and Whizbangs. Fabled cards are not currently in Arena, but they will be added in a future update. And then they also adjusted some of the the chests for that, the win rewards, with including a new hero skin for 12 wins. And one interesting thing that I was not expecting, but that was really interesting that they added some achievements relating to the brawl and to arena, where they added a bunch of achievements for opening Timeways packs, and then the part 2 is finish an underground arena run with +6 wins, and all those reward tavern tickets. So kind of an interesting way if you're doing both of those to kind of get some tavern tickets for some runs. And then they also had an achievement for getting a 6-win run in the current brawl. And then we also got info on in-game events that are coming up, one November 4th to 25th, the other one right afterwards. We basically constantly have an event going at this point, which is really nice to kind of just get some free stuff for playing. And then we also got a teaser for World Championship stuff. World Championships will be December 18th to 21st. There will be a legendary quest line to earn a card back into card packs, and then there'll also be a tavern brawl that uses decks from past world champions. I think that's everything big in the patch notes.
I like that the reward for the 100 for completing the pass basically is the signature legendary fable card that's non-craftable. It's as much as I like the portraits, like you get to the end, you're like, okay, let's collect the portraits. I like that there's so many portraits in there. I actually, so when we do the theory crafting, I'm trying to looking through them, like which ones are the new ones, and I don't know 90% of these, and it's hard to tell. I mean, sometimes it's easy because it's like, oh, hey, it's the music expansion. That guy looks like they're listening to music. That's easy. But a lot of times it's hard to figure out like which ones are the new ones. So I like that because some people are free to play, and they may be not only getting a card, they might be getting a card they don't have. So I wonder if this is also going to adhere to the rules of no, the non-duplicate rules. So maybe not, but or is it just Azure Queen Syndragosa? Never mind.
Yeah, it's just Azure Queen,
okay, yeah,
and
yeah.
it's just the paid track. That is the signature.
Okay, that's fair. That's the one thing that I always pay for. I actually didn't pick up a bundle this time. As I'm sure some people know, when Blizzard gives us bundles to give away, they say we're allowed to, keep one for ourselves if we want. And we didn't do it this time because I have so much dust. I was just like, you know what? I think I can make an entire set without paying for anything this time around. Maybe I think I can do it for a couple sets in a row. And what's the point of holding all that dust if I'm not going to do something with it? So I figure we'll take this one off. I'll still get the tavern pass because I think that's one of the best values you can get and whatnot. Uh, WorldEight, any thoughts on the tavern pass or anything?
I usually pick up the Tavern Pass because I'm a sucker for cosmetics. I'm fortunate to have enough dust that the rewards along the way aren't too like I can probably craft the cards as I need to. And yeah, I mean you get some cool cosmetics and the XP is accelerated, but if you play a ton, you probably complete the rewards track anyway. It's just do you care about the top of it?
Yeah, I like getting all that. I like having that gold, and once you get past that top of it, you just continually getting gold and you use it for whatever. So I enjoy it. The one thing so am I confused because we got the rewards for Legend yesterday, and I got all Goro packs. And I could have sworn that once the expansion was released or announced, or we're in that cycle, that if it falls in that case, we usually get new packs. Because I woke up yesterday, I was like, oh, let's see if I get any new legendaries, so maybe I'll have something interesting to do in the brawl. Because right now all I have is Rafam. So I thought that maybe that happened. Am I wrong about that? Don't we usually get the new packs?
We normally do.
Okay. So either there was a bug or they just decided to try to get us to buy more packs. I don't know.
Yeah. I haven't seen. I've got the known issues up to kind of go through also because there's a couple things in here, but they don't have a post on that. But with it also with the first being on a Saturday, I don't know what their timeline is for updating things like that. But it's been quite a while since we've gotten the old set packs once the patch for the new set has come out. Normally, as long as we have the 0.0 patch, normally they swap that over. It's been like that for a couple years, I think. So I don't know if that was an oversight or a bug or what. But yeah, everyone got Unguro packs as far as I know.
That's fair. It was a little disappointing, honestly. It's like the excitement of having the brawl. You can't buy packs, but you can use the packs you get from Community Day. You can use whatever packs you get from whatever, and so it kind of took the wind out of my sails a little bit as far as the brawl. Because I've already been, I played with the cards I have, and yeah, there's options there. But I was like, this is timing's perfect. We're gonna get some cards to play with, and it just didn't happen. So, it is what it is. You said there were some
Yeah.
other things though, as far as
Yes.
known
One
issues.
thing to backtrack slightly with the Tavern Pass. One thing to kind of make people aware of, this is common for the past few ones. There's always a legendary card on the first level on the free track. In this case, this time it is a random fabled legendary. So you get one of the 11 fabled cards that you don't have. The paid track, the second level Chromie Diamond is on level 2, and then level 20 is normally a legendary card. It always used to be a random legendary, and then this set and last set they've made it a specific one. Chrono Lord Deus will be the level 20 reward. If you save your weeklies and 3 dailies for when the set drops, then you will likely get there very quickly on the first day to level 20.
I never do that. Like, I understand the concept behind it, but it's usually like I want to play Hearthstone, and if I can avoid it by like playing decks that don't move it, that's fine. But if I like log in
Yeah.
and I want to play Death Knight and Death Knight's in my quest and it's win 5 games in standard, I don't care. And I get that I'm usually not a free to play player, and so it probably makes a big difference. And if you want to play with Chrono Lord, Deo, Dio, Chronolog Dio, whatever you want to call him, you need to kind of like plan it out as best you can. But I don't know. It's just I want to play Hearthstone. I don't like that. I don't know why they don't give you a full slate of quests on the day of a new expansion. If that's the thing, like they should not be creating a system that makes it say I'm not going to play Hearthstone today because it doesn't matter. There should be no reason that I should not want to play the game if I want to play the game, and I think that is kind of an oversight. that they've never really addressed. But it's probably the number of people that are that hyper aware of that situation is probably pretty small. Probably, I don't know. I just don't get it. WorldEight, do you stop playing Hearthstone so you have all your quests?
No, not at all. It doesn't impact me. I play enough Hearthstone that I pretty comfortably hit rank, level 100, like without, it doesn't matter too much.
Well, it's less about hitting level 100, but it's about getting to the 20th
Oh,
stage to get that
jump
legendary.
start on the. Yeah, I mean, no, I don't think so. Usually the level 20 is not too crazy. And I'll get it in a week or so. Maybe there'd be one time, but I don't. I'll be banking my quest this time just because I'm not gonna be playing standard. So that kind of like naturally fits for me. Like I'm gonna have a bunch of like win standard games, and maybe I'll finish some, play this class games. But I'm not thinking about it too much.
Well, I think it's not win standard; it's win ranked, right? So wild would count for that.
Yeah, I'm not playing either. It doesn't really. I'm playing Brawl. This is like the 1 week that you get this meta, then it's gone forever. Never again. Like maybe if like they decided that Twist should do something and they like rotated through the brawls, I don't know. But like this is going to be the only time you see this meta, so I'm savoring it. I'm taking advantage of that. It's kind of like when we get that weird like revert week, or maybe I think it's like revert 2 weeks. What was one time?
The
Right?
Franken
Like
meta.
yeah, the Franken meta. I love the Franken meta because it only exists for 1 week, and it's kind of like the meta changes within that mode like every day or two. We'll talk about this. Like there are brand new decks that came out like yesterday for the Brawl. That look like they might be the most powerful deck in the Brawl, right? Like it's just constantly evolving.
That's fair. Any other news, Pilot?
Yeah, I normally just kind of take the Monday before set release. It's just like, well, I'm either going to play some other modes or just take today as a day off of Hearthstone and play other games, or be busy and not have time for games anyways. So normally those are kind of what happens for me. We do have some known issues. One of which we talked about the packs. We have a couple reports of some lag and client stutter. So if you are getting that, don't worry, you're not alone. We do have a couple things where on mobile, the pre-release Tavern Brawl chests would sometimes get stuck. It looks like that is resolved. And then we also have a few bans specifically for the Brawl. So we went in knowing that the Paladin quest was going to be banned, and then they banned all quests as well as Elise and alternate reality. It sounds like alternate reality is banned because of a bug. There is an issue with it to where it would give the discount but not actually replace the cards. So that is banned from everything until that is resolved, but they banned Elise and the quest from the Brawl after the first day or two. Other bugs, not seeing anything too relevant. Some collection things. Looks like there's an issue with people randomly getting the signature Mr. Clocksworth that I think was supposed to be a shop only one. So if you got that, they're going to swap that with a random other signature card from the set. Then I think that is it. I think this Battlegrounds bug has been on here forever, and it makes me laugh every time I look at it. Where in Battlegrounds, Lord Baroff can explode unexpectedly when using his hero power in specific circumstances. I think that bug has been here for like 3 or 4 months, and they must not be able to figure out what it is, but sometimes Baroff will just die when they use their hero power, which is not ideal as someone who enjoys playing Baroff.
No, that does not seem like an ideal thing at all. Yeah, but that's funny. Like I wonder if it just doesn't come up enough where they don't worried about it, or I don't know. This
Yeah, I have no idea. But yeah, it sounds like those are kind of the big ones, as well as we talked about the packs, and then I was talking about before the show a little bit if other people have run into this. I think I ran into a bug with rewind cards that other cards are casting them. Um, so I had Avatar of Hearthstone supposed to play a rewind spell and it didn't do anything. So I'm going to report that. But if other people have seen some of that, it might be helpful to report as well.
I was able to actually report a couple bugs, or at least one bug in the brawl, which was I had a full board of minions, and I forget what spell it was, but I was trying to cast a rewind spell, and it wouldn't let me. It said your board is full. I said, yes, I know my board is full, but I'm trying to cast a spell. And it wasn't like a summon spell or anything like that. It was just like and I killed one of my minions, and then I was able to play the spell.
That's probably what happened to me because my board was full when that spell was supposed to cast from Avatar of Hearthstone.
Ah, yeah,
It
yeah, yeah.
probably
So
didn't
I think
cast
there's a
because of that.
problem with I think there's a problem with rewind checking board state. So I'm sure they're on top of
Interesting.
it. But yeah, but it's nice. That's kind of one of the fun things about the brawl is they want bugs and they want you can actually kind of help out there as you go. I don't know. I think it's time to start talking about brawl. What do you think?
Yes.
WorldEight. What have you been playing in the brawl?
Oh, well, the brawl, like the first 2 days, right, it had a bunch of quests. Right, and like the quest warlock, I was like, I don't know, trying. I forget what I tried like the first day, but then I was like, oh, they can still complete the quest pretty easily by like turn 5. Like it felt like it was like the same deck as standard. I think there's some like chatter going into it. It's like, oh, this is gonna be harder, and it's like, okay, they're just gonna play the tunnel terror card, and that compensates fine. And so the first day I was like, you know what, I've got this really cool quest hunter deck. Let me see how that goes. And that was fun because with the new 7-3 drop 7-3, I was able to complete the quest. I was getting shock online on turn 6, like pretty much every game. That didn't always win the game, especially against Quest Warlock. But I did have I thought that was fun. And then I played Quest DH, because again, that's another deck that wasn't really viable in standard. And that was actually really good in the brawl. But then, they decided to ban all the quests, which I think was kind of like the reasonable thing to do. Because you can't just tweak Quest Warlock in the brawl without changing it in standard. And I think they intentionally didn't want to do that. Although I think they probably should have addressed that deck before the release of this expansion, but that's a different discussion. And then after the quests were banned, I was trying some other stuff. I tried some Token Druid. It was fine-ish. I tried some Aura Paladin. It was pretty good. And then I was like, okay, all these Frost DKs are everywhere. Let me try that deck. And it's actually it was really fun. You would play a lot of mirrors, but like that deck has gas. Especially with the new side quest. And you're playing all these death rattle cards that draw another card. But making zombies is a lot of fun. I played the quest in standard a tiny bit. It doesn't really have a great home in standard right now, but it's perfect for that deck and in the brawl. So that was good. And I've just been kind of like picking up other people did well in the brawl, mostly like 6-0 lists, and I was like, I'm gonna try this because I just really like trying all these cards in this context. Especially because I feel like a lot of these decks, this is the only chance they're gonna have. A lot of these cards, this is the only chance they're gonna have. Like I saw like a 6-0 spell TH. I was playing that in the brawl. I'm like, this actually feels pretty good, but there's no way like this deck is gonna survive like a turn 6 Fire Act, right? Like it's never gonna get even close to competitive and standard. But here in this moment, I can play it, I can enjoy it, and burn. Like I had a ton of tavern tickets from. Actually, we're talking about the tavern pass. Like if you don't do anything with those tickets, I think I had like 16 or something saved up, and I hadn't really played the last brawl too much. But yeah, just playing lots of different stuff. It's really cool to see some older cards shine too from Ungoro. There's a 4-mana legendary in Paladin that gives you a permanent spell that gives it's a 2-mana spell, +2/+2, and Divine Shield. That card is super strong. Like, if that can live for a turn in the Brawl, there's just not that much removal. And you can just, your whole board gets Divine Shield, including that minion. And it is so hard to remove. And it's like one of those cards like this, maybe I overlooked this in Standard, and I'll try this again. And all the aura stuff was pretty cool too. But playing all these cards, it exposes some cards, and I love deck building, right? And giving these cards a chance has been pretty fun. Although I do tend to like just throw together an aggro pile once in a while. But there's been this big rise in questless warrior, right? Like, it's still control warrior. And so they'll just like out armor you, and then they'll play their big dumb stuff at the end, and you're like, all right, I guess I lose now. And it's a very, very good deck. Oh yeah, and I played Egg Warlock, which is sort of lame because it was pretty much the same list as Standard, and it was dumb, right? It's dumb to summon the 2020 on 6 and then have Umbra still in the deck, right? Like, it felt like a Standard deck, and I was like, this is almost too strong. And there's a whole bunch of silly things in the format too, that I still, maybe in the last day or two, I'm going to try. There's a mage deck that runs Relic of Kings, and the elemental that when it's another elemental is summoned, it does 3 damage randomly. And the discover pool in a brawl is tiny, so you're actually pretty likely to discover Bat Mask off of that, and you get that for 1 mana. So you play the elemental, you play the Bat Mask on the elemental, and then it summons 7 of these elementals, and each of them does 3, like, compounded. I don't know how much damage it is. It's a lot of damage. It killed me very easily. So I'll probably try that next. Maybe a Medivh Priest, maybe a Handbuff Priest. A lot of things to try in the last day or two here. But it's been fun. I've done quite a few runs, almost out of tickets there, and I'll probably play it up until the end.
Yeah, I thought that once they released the arena and the new arena changes, that we were gonna like see less tickets when you get to this point, but I haven't played a lot of arena honestly in a while, and I always like, I probably should play arena anyway. So I don't know. I played the Quest Warrior. I got 6 wins in my first run. That's because I said we did with Edel. I was like, no, this is what's going to win. I was like, okay. And then I did a Frost on Holy Death Knight and got a 6 win with there. And I played that for a little bit because I had already been playing Frost. I've been playing Triple Frost before the Brawl and having a lot of fun with that. So it was kind of just like a shift. I just changed it to have the undead that you play and it summons. If you played with Kindred, you get another death rattle that costs 0, that costs 3 or less, and that's really strong in the brawl. And you don't have the freebooter, but you have the Stegodon, and you can discover the Stegodon quite a bit with the limited pools. So then you play that with Umbra, and Umbra just goes pew 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 pew, and you do a lot of damage, and it's a lot of fun. So I really enjoyed that. And then I started, mixing things up. I started playing. We I tried playing a little bit of Priest. Nothing major. Like, I didn't really try to do anything meta. Just like, let's try to like make things happen here. I tried to play it entirely in Rage Warrior, and I got like 4 wins with that. And again, nothing exciting. I don't have a lot of the new cards, but it's fun. I don't know. I agree with you, WorldEight. I like how the meta is different, but it does then gets frustrating when you keep running into like the same decks. When the meta you run into these pocket metas, like everyone's playing Frosty K now, everyone's playing Aggro Paladin right now, everyone's playing this. So you run into these pocket metas for like a few hours where everyone's playing the list they probably just lost to. And it kind of, it's like that brawl that we have, right? Like, if like you lose to a deck, you get that deck. They had that one for a little while, and that was a lot of fun. But yeah, overall, I like the cards. I agree with you. I wonder how they're going to deal with Fire because they're going to have to do something. I don't know how you change it. Making it 10 mana is not going to be that big of a deal. Do you have it be 10 mana worth of spells instead of 20? Do you say once per game battle cry? I don't know what you do with it. But I definitely think that that's going to need to be adjusted before we start seeing the power of these cards. And there's only one chance to make a first impression, and that's what happens with these expansions. It's like if day one someone logs in and it's just Fyric Rogue and it's just whatever Quest Warlock and Quest Paladin, and you're just like, okay, this is the same thing. And Protoss Priest, which is how much I love that deck. If that's all you're seeing again, then you're gonna see a lot of people that probably have multiple times now this year logged in to play the new expansion and been just kind of turned off, and then eventually they're gonna stop logging back in. So I really kind of hope they figure out how to adjust the meta to handle the new cards coming in to keep it fresh and exciting. But it's not easy. I understand that. Pilot, I know I kind of went off on a little bit of a tangent there. What do you think about the Brawl? What have you been playing?
I was gonna say I kind of talked about everything that I played. I only played one run the very first day before the quests were banned. I had just kind of pieced together a hand buff priest with what I had. It didn't do great. I think it went 1-3. The games felt close at least for just kind of slapping the deck together in like 5 minutes, if that. I did have one game I sent Tito a message that I had an 8-10 sandball on board. The 7-2 naturally. That was fun. That was good. I think I still lost that game though. So it was okay. I played the couple runs. I played the Death Knight. I played the Hunter. I know I bookmarked a bunch of lists that I want to get back to play, that I'm trying to look at, but my cat is headbutting my mouse out of my hand currently. So I ran into a lot of the Frost Death Knight. The Frost Death Knight is very, very good. Very strong, and a lot of stuff to do with that one. I got absolutely destroyed by a control priest to where I felt like I was doing fine, and then they dropped all 10 or all 10 mana cards on 10. They just went Medivh, location, weapon. I'm like, uh-oh, I'm in trouble. I did not recover from that. I got close. I copied their Medivh with Bob, and I had enough time to just kind of play chicken with them because they had the location to summon the eight mana minions, and they also had conflicts to summon the dragons that cost 5 or more. I'm like, how far are you going to go in? And we just kind of went back and forth, and then they ended up getting there. So don't have Medivh, so I don't know if I'll get to try that deck. I did mark an Enraged Warrior list that looked fun, that had all the cards for. But I'm just kind of in a spot where I'm missing just enough things that is making it tricky for me to do too much.
That's fair. I would say I was kind of surprised at some of the decks I didn't see a lot of. And like I thought I was going to see a lot more Rafaam than I did. I thought I was going to see a lot more Druid than I did, especially the Fabled Druid. I thought I was going to see a lot more Mage than I did. And maybe it's just that the support cards aren't there in order for these decks to be. But at the same point, I still would have expected people to be trying these things. But I think there's kind of a you want to get as many packs as you can for that. So for a lot of people, this isn't necessarily about just trying all the new cards, partly, but it's also, hey, what's the best thing I can do to win? And I was kind of hoping to see more decks. I had Rafam and I played a couple runs with Rafam, but I didn't like just feel like it was the thing I had to play because I don't know, but Reform feels really good in general, so I think it's going to be. Well, we'll talk about that afterwards. But I was just really surprised at how little of some decks I saw. Like I saw no priest, um, at least as far as that goes. Uh, did you guys see the same thing? Like, were there a lot of decks that you just didn't see that you kind of thought you'd see people at least playing with in the brawl?
Not so much. I think a lot of people found that there are some good decks that don't require any new cards, so they're just kind of farming packs. Because it's really good rate of return on, if you just play something that's in standard, you play 2 tavern tickets, you got a whole bunch of packs from it. In terms of what's missing from the brawl, I can't think of too much. I think I was kind of disappointed by the aggro warlock. I thought that was going to be really strong with all the shreds of time, but it seems to not be. It's actually a deck I haven't tried myself, but I thought that was actually going to be all over the brawl. But I haven't really seen much of it. Also, no like mage really at all, except for the like OTK deck. But it's not like using the fabled or anything like that. Don't really. I saw like one or two like demon hunters. It's pretty rare though, and well, not as rare as rogue. Like I think I saw one rogue, and he was just playing like super aggro stuff, like raiding party into waggle picks with dread corsairs, and then like a bunch of like just tons of all the damage spells with spell school stuff. A lot of these things depend on if you open the fabled card or not, or a legendary. So you don't see like people can't build like a Corona deck because they just didn't open her or open him, I guess. I'm not sure. And so you don't see it that often. You see decks that are full of the uncommons, and if you're going with that, then you're probably just gonna be playing an old deck. It's really hard to build around a legendary that you don't have. um, so I don't really think there's like too much that I thought was missing. Maybe Handbuff Priest. It's got a whole bunch of commons, rares. Pretty easy to build. I haven't tried it myself, so I can't speak to that. I don't know. I think everything I saw something of, but Rogue was definitely absent.
Wait, self-pilot, any thoughts?
Yeah, it's about similar for me. A lot of things I looked at, like, oh, I want to try this. I was missing either legendaries or important epics for, and it's such a tricky balance, which I think we've talked about before. Of you want to set up the environment to let new cards shine, but also not totally block you out when you don't have the new cards. And it's obviously a lot easier to build a deck with no new cards that we all know how they function and what works best with them, compared to new cards that we're trying to figure out where their best spot is. The new cards are already at a disadvantage from a deck building standpoint, and then another disadvantage of, do I actually have the card to build the deck? And that's why I think we see a lot of the older decks run rampant in these, because we already know what to do with those cards. And I'm kind of glad that they jumped in and just banned all the quests, because I think if they would have just taken out the top ones, then the other ones would have just fallen right in behind, that were getting shoved out by the better quest, because we already know what cards to put in for all of those. So it kind of truly gave, all right, reset the field, go figure something out.
They should have kept the rogue quest in because it was just bad. Actually, I was just thinking about that because we used to compare. Because I know on the Vicious Syndicate report, you guys compare the quest to Whizbang. Could you play Whizbang in this brawl?
No, it's from Whizbang's workshop.
Oh, okay, I thought it was in the core set.
No.
All right, so WorldEight, Blizzard calls you, says, "Hey, we like how things are going, but how can we improve the brawl? What would be your suggestion for them to improve the brawl?"
Twist becomes the brawl format for a month. I mean, give me Twist. Give me all these wacky formats for longer than this. If I was gonna improve this brawl format, I'd give it 2 weeks. Also, because if people have 2 weeks and they're grinding out all these packs, then they're more likely to open up the legendary. Like the people that are really dedicated to the format and they decide not to buy the pre-bundle. And you got a whole bunch of tickets. I mean, if you go through as many tickets as I went through, like 10 plus, you're doing 6 wins a run, then yeah, you're probably going to find that legendary you want. So I'd extend it to 2 weeks, because we had already exposed all the cards by the Tuesday before. I think everything was revealed like that last Monday. Actually, VS had the very last reveal on Warlock on Monday. And that was a fun day. That was a 3-hour podcast. uh, but yeah, if we had one more week, people would have more access to the cards. Um, maybe put some. I think there's also a proposal to like during the 1 week of Brawl, you let people have access to all the cards. I think that would be a mistake. I don't think I would mind if they said, okay, if you want, we have pre-built decks that you can pick from, right? There's a pre-built deck for each class. If you want to play Reform Warlock, here's the deck. You're not going to get, or maybe you could buy it. I don't know, like, uh, when it's over $10, you buy the Reform deck. That's another option too. You can offer players a pre-built deck to borrow. There's something that they really want to try. I don't know the logistics of that. Maybe that would discourage sales too much. But my first suggestion is just extend it to 2 weeks so that people have the time to open enough packs to find what they're looking for.
I disagree slightly on that. Not that I don't. I agree on some levels, but also I like that week is kind of available for people to speculate and to build, make content and do the theory crafting and not have that out to everybody because it kind of does give you kind of a little bit of things as a creator to work on and whatnot. And I think if you had the brawl right away, that would kind of take away a lot of that. But unless there was an extra week, so it was 1 week and then a 2 week brawl and all that. But I don't know. Pilot, you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know. I do think that kind of 1 week is the sweet spot for engagement purposes, but less for getting a chance to do all the different things that we want to with it. So it's tricky because if it was 2 weeks, then I could definitely see it kind of trailing off a lot after the second week, or taking a week to kind of gear up. Just because you don't want it. They're trying to find a way to copy the pre-release event feel of a physical card game. Of here's something unique that you can do early before the set actually releases. I think that this kind of captures that idea the best, but it is really frustrating when we want to see these cards, how they play in this limited format, and we don't have the chance.
I
Yeah,
would
and
like to see it.
just a
Go
quick
ahead.
thing too, like my like this week I was pretty lucky. I had a pretty big project on Wednesday, right? And I finished it on Monday, but like the last brawl, I got to play like 2 days of it. Like my work overlapped just really heavily with this. And so like that's a challenge for some people too. They're like, I really want to play the brawl, and I never got a chance to do it. Because it is a limited time event, and most limited time events in this game in particular are generally more than 1 week.
Yeah.
So I just want to also add that was very frustrating for the last brawl. I got to play like a day of it.
Well, if the government doesn't open soon, I may have plenty of extra time to be playing Hearthstone and across the timeways, which we're hoping doesn't happen. I'd rather have less Hearthstone time, believe me. Um, I think it would be cool is if they, instead of doing it just like, hey, the brawl is uh Ungoro and across the timeways and core. I think that each day should be one of the sets and liberally ban cards you think that would be a problem. So, like, hey, it's going to be, I mean, feel free, like, ban the entire mini set from StarCraft, ban Fyric, ban whatever, but like, hey, hey, this one we're gonna do today. It's Tuesday, it's Whizbang, and Wednesday is this, and therefore the meta is constantly shifting. There's really no you can get little pieces of things you might think that work together as you're going, like, okay, these cards kind of interact well together and all that, and it's going to keep the meta kind of fresh for the entire of the thing. So it would be chaos. It wouldn't be necessarily anything that you could latch onto. If your run goes on to the next day, if, like, let's say I started a run on Monday and I go to Tuesday, finish with that deck, and your deck of Ungoro cards is going up against the person's deck that has whiz-bang cards. Who cares? It's, random. It's whatever. It doesn't really matter that much. So I think that could be kind of fun. Probably logistically a pain in the ass is why we're not going to see it. But if we're just kind of skyballing here, I think that could be kind of fun. Pylet, you had something you wanted to say, I think.
No, the it being runs is the biggest issue that I see with that, and there will be people who would complain about that. There will be someone who queues up a deck and makes a deck of Unguro and the new set, and then faces against apparels and apparel's deck or a set that's stronger, and there will be lots of Reddit posts that day.
Yeah, but you're always gonna people are gonna complain about
I
something.
know.
At least it doesn't matter. Like if you try to whack-a-mole everything that people are gonna complain about, you're just gonna go insane. So that overlap, I mean, would be so small anyway. I think it'd be fine. It'd be fun. But anyway, any final thoughts on the brawl before we talk about the actual release?
Um, yeah, I mean, like maybe this is gonna transition into it, but you do get to see power levels of this. This is also kind of like theory crafting, and what might have potential and what might. Mostly, you see what's not gonna hit well. Like I was saying, like the shreds of time, I was really excited for, or like the enraged shaman, and it's kind of not landing in the brawl. And if it's not landing in this format, it's probably not going to be strong enough going into release. So this is kind of like a litmus test, like theory crafting, where hopefully they gather enough data even now to like, I'm not sure what the first balance patch is. Is it like a week? It's probably like 2 weeks in. I forget. But they get another point of data, so I hope they use it.
Well, the other thing too is maybe it didn't feel strong, but maybe it's missing cards that it needs, like Healthstone or stuff like that. So, but the problem is that if something underperforms in the brawl, then that might, even though there might be cards that will make that deck better and perform better, it might discourage people from even bothering with it because they've already experienced in the brawl. Oh, like you're saying, oh, I thought this was going to be stronger, and it's not. It might be, but we just didn't have the cards we needed. So I think that that could actually have a negative effect where it's like, yeah, it could have been the deck's fine as long as you have all the cards you need. And we just didn't know, and we kind of just gave up on it because we had a bad experience in the brawl. So I don't know. But I agree with what you're saying there too. It's hopefully we can use that data. I love it if they looked at some of the data they get from the brawl and maybe even had a couple days after the brawl before the set released and did some balance adjustments and even day one have changes that came out and hey, we've buffed this, we've nerfed this, whatever. But um i I know they want to just kind of like see where things are, not panic, and I do appreciate that for the most part they have not panicked, nerfed or buffed recently, and they've kind of kept their cadence. I know not everybody's happy with that, but I like that. I like that we're kind of going with there. But we have a new set coming out. We've been talking about the pre-release, but now we get to talk about the cards that we're going to be playing with on Tuesday. I will have this out tomorrow unless AWS goes out, so you should be able to listen to this as you're playing with new cards. So hopefully we can give you some ideas. Um, I was thinking about this, like I like the way Coin Concede does their thing where they have like five superlatives of how they're going to do it. And I'm like, we can't just steal that because that would be rude. Um, but so we have to kind of come up with our own thing at some point, and we're not quite there yet. We've done quite a few sets now. I think this is probably like the eighth or ninth set we've done since we started the podcast. But some of it, unfortunately, there's no way to get over the overlap because we have to talk about what we're excited about and all that. So, WorldEight, what are you excited to play on day one?
Uh, I'm still gonna try and make like an elemental or enraged shaman work. And I'll try to make like an enraged warrior work too. The shaman, I think, is just gonna be a lot of fun, and maybe like we drop the enraged stuff and we're just running like a Muradin deck. That also seems really good. It looked pretty bad in the theory crafting, incredibly, like the pirate shaman stuff. But maybe it was missing too many cards. So those two shaman decks, because I feel like shaman right now is not doing too much interesting. And I'm appeal, there's appeal to me for both of those. And like I said, the There's quite a few decks. So mostly, unfortunately, like quite a few old ones too. Like I'm really excited for Peddler DH because I just feel like the snake is really fun. And even though there's just like basically one new card, and like I'll run Broxigar in it too, for like the 0 cost, but like the snake is pretty exciting. I don't know if that makes it like it should make it into an aggro DH list, but I think that list needs to slow down a little bit. But maybe still like very aggressive. Because like one of the best ways to activate the snake is like Wyvern Slumber, which is like way too slow for aggro DH right now. It's like what do you get, like a 5/5 lifesteal on like turn 6, like ideally? Like way too slow. Um so yeah, I mean there's like I think it's mostly specific cards that I'm looking to play with. Like I didn't open Muradin in the brawl. Seems fun. Seems like a really good card. Like I have one serpent, for example, like, and there's just not a lot of dormant minions. So there's quite a few decks that I'm excited for. I think like Aura Paladin also could be pretty fun because you can get to play with Ursine Maul, which I think is going to add a lot to consistency to the deck. That you don't really see in the brawl. You have to play all kinds of like random stuff to like try and get Galbin. And even though I was fortunate to open him when I played Aura Paladin, I drew him maybe half my games, and I think drawing him like every game is a big difference. So just like a lot of specific cards that add in, and maybe not, and maybe Aura Paladin is probably the only, I don't know. So I mentioned a whole bunch of archetypes, but like Aura Paladin is probably the most like novel one because I think I'm just coping with the Enraged Shaman right now. I don't know if it's going to be quite there, but I think there's quite a few things to try, especially like the first 3 days, 4 days. Everything's kind of up in the air. A lot of people are trying junk, and it's the beginning of the month, which is also like really a great time to fool around. Like, who cares if I like stay in bronze and silver for the first week? Like, I don't mind. I'm not above that. Like, in a way, like I'll do whatever I want to by the end of the month. I've got 30 more days or 29 more days to do something. So I'll be tossing a lot of stuff on the wall. I think one of my things this time, I might try every Vicious Syndicate list. Give it like 3 games because why not? That'll give me plenty to do for the first week, and then pick up a whole bunch of stuff from other people that I find interesting along the way.
I was going to ask, do you ever, so I know you are obviously a host of the Bread and Butter podcast, Bread and Butter, the Vicious Syndicate podcast.
Almost.
Do you ever write anything on any articles? Because maybe that would be an interesting article to write. Is like, hey, I played every single one of these decks that we gave. Here's my thing on it. Although
No,
that's more work for somebody with a job.
yeah. So I mean the history of Vicious Syndicate, they actually had like class specialists. Like Ridiculous Hat was like the rogue class specialist. This is actually before the time that I was because before I came like into the game at like Fractured and Alteroic, and it was kind of just Zacho at that point. But I don't know, he'd probably be open to the idea. Less work for him, but his standards would be super high, and I don't think I'd want to do that, like to write it and keep it up to his standards. But he runs all the deck lists by me. I contribute a lot of those lists, actually. Like of the 40 plus decks, like probably a third of them are mine, and I had comments on all of them. So I participate pretty heavily behind the scenes there, and that's fine. That's good enough for me.
That's fair. That's fair. And I definitely use that list. I usually use that list until you start putting out the list with the Bagesa and whatnot. And like, these are what things are actually playing. And here's the John Bray list. And I'm like, okay, great. And we start messing around with those. Pylet, what are you excited to play?
Very similar to WorldEight. I'm excited for the whole shaman set, pretty much. I know that it hasn't quite hit yet like we all expected it to, but I also think we talked about it when we were discussing the set. It's a very interesting set to find the right balance of what you put in and what you don't put in and what you put around it. So I'm really excited to play around with that. I'm really excited for some of the hunter set as well. Excited to play with Sylvanas and those 3 cards. They're just so solid and can fit into so many different hunter decks. I think that's one of my favorite cards from the set. And then looking at probably Demon Hunter as my next one, kind of building, like WorldEight was talking about, some sort of aggro or more tempo oriented Demon Hunter deck to take advantage of Serpent. Probably take the aggro DH and slow it down just a little bit, but have it, bigger swings turn 4, 5, and 6 to push damage rather than trying to kill them by turn 4, 5, or 6, or just not having a hand. And then I determined to make Broxigar work. So I'm going to get baited by that card for so long, but I absolutely love that card. I love the design, and I'm going to find a way to make it work.
That's fair. And I am also looking forward to a lot of DH. That's going to be fun. I think Quest DH might be interesting. I don't know if we get necessarily tools for it, but it felt really strong when I played it in the theory crafting. So I'm hoping that we can do something with that. I do like the aggro. I do like the dormant demon hunter. There's a lot of fun things to be had there. I hope mage is good. A lot of these decks I hope are good, but I hope they're not so good that they're like a tier 1 deck, and because I think they're fun until they're not. Like, I think, do you know what I mean? Like, if it's novel to kill somebody with, raising your dragons and playing spells, and there is like an OTK combo, that's fine and that's fun. You're like, oh, I just lost. When it's every other game, then you're like, oh. So I'm really kind of hoping a lot of these decks work and they end up um, having success, but not so much success that they're not over the top. I
Yes,
want to
because
play
the
the
current
Nature
tier 1
Shaman.
decks are so much more fun to play against.
No, I'm not saying that. I know what you mean. I know what you mean. But like I guess I want to just see some balance, right? Rafam, I'm kind of surprised that even between the theory crafting and the brawl, I am surprised at how little Rafam I've seen. I think Rafam's in a good spot. I think it's going to be like a high tier 3 deck that people are going to want to play because it's a fun deck to play and it's silly. And the Rafam cards, there's no bad Rafam cards, I don't think. Every Rafam card felt really, really good. And you have the penalty of having a 40 card deck without getting the extra health. So it makes your deck a bit more inconsistent, but I'm sure that we'll have some builds that work out pretty good that play, controlly. And you don't need to get the 10 farm down for it to be successful. There's a lot of in fact, I think most of the games that won't come up, it's not like a Mechathune deck where the entire thing is you have to have it go to the end, otherwise it doesn't work. I think there's going to be plenty of you're just going to play a 7/7 duplicate make a copy of it on 7, and after you play the Rafam that reduce the Rafam by 3, and after you've played the green Rafam that gives things +2/+2, and I think you're going to see a lot of games of that. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to. I want to play some Enrage Warrior. I want to play that. That deck felt really fun. I want to play some Dragon Warrior. I want to play some. I want to play the mage. I want to play everything. I want to play everything, and I want it to be interesting and fun. And uh, I'm just excited about it. I want to play. I'm waiting. WorldEight. Did you know that Panda's Virtue is still in the meta? Get me a buff paladin that works. I want to play buff paladin. We got a location that's going to help with that. We still have Grim's the +2/+2 to all characters in your hand. We still have tools for buff paladin. We just didn't really have the consistency anymore without the weapon tutor and whatnot. So I want that. I just want to see a bunch of stuff. So I'm excited. I can't wait. Um, Pilot, what do you think we'll have? Which decks do you think will have the most immediate impacts, or which card do you think will have the most immediate impacts? If we're just kind of like more thinking about the cards than the decks.
I think for immediate impact, I think it's more individual cards. I think Lady Azura is going to have an immediate impact. just in Owl Druid and any slow Druid, just because it's so flexible and it's a guaranteed copy rather than rolling Elise. Sylvanas, I think, is going to make an impact immediately. There's another one that I was looking at, and I went right past it. I think some of the control tools that Warrior got, I think, is going to boost Quest Warrior a decent bit. And then a weird one that I did not think of, but I ran into it while I was playing Arena today. Not that you run it in the deck, but Nebula got a really good 8-drop. Amber Warden, a 8 mana 4/12 dragon, taunt, death rattle, summon a random minion from the past. That's another sticky minion for Nebula. If we see Nebula Shaman, that's a really good hit off of that. I got 3 of them in one turn. It was they conceded. They had no interest in that game anymore. But that definitely helps the Nebula pool. It's somewhat canceled out because Clocksworth is also in there, so it's one good, one bad. But the Nebula pool is pretty strong right now if there's room for that deck in the meta.
WorldEight, what are your thoughts?
Oh, I don't know. Well, the most important card probably Fyrek.
Okay, let me
Uh,
rephrase
and-
the question. Which new cards do you think will have the most
yeah, I know.
immediate impact?
I'm just trolling a little bit here. Probably
We'll get to those
Chrono.
cards later.
Like a low druid. It might not be tier 1, but I think we're going to see a lot of it. People like playing big dumb stuff. And it's a way to cheat out your Colossus on turn 6, right? Something like that is not too unreasonable because there's this Oaken Summons into Tertullian Traveler line that basically tutors them every game, so you can kind of hit them by 5, and then then you're off to the races with like contingency and stuff like that, or just summoning or drawing it naturally with like Story of Permanent Abyss. So I think that's like probably like my number 1 card. But there's quite a few other ones. Like I know that there's this crazy rogue Deos deck that can like potentially do 150 damage or something like that. It looked pretty bad in theory crafting. Because I don't think it had like the correct toolkit for defense. So we'll see if that, I think that'll have a pretty big, like it'll see a lot of play. Even if it's remotely competitive. I know a lot of people are going to probably try like Zarimi Murzond, like OTKs. So we'll see maybe like a slower Priest decks on top of. Priest got some good like early game control cards. And like Medivh with like the BZ Peons. I think we'll see a bunch of that. I think we'll see a lot of Aura Paladin. People are gonna definitely try that. And what else? I think there's gonna be a lot of, like I said, individual cards. Like we're probably gonna see a lot of Husk. Like it's gonna be like Tuesday's gonna hit. You're gonna see Husk for another 2 years. Like that's just like the truth of it. Like as long as there's a slow blood control deck, you're gonna see a lot of Husk. Pylet mentioned like Oaken like the Alonius Druid's got like gets pretty big buff. Stuff Hunter, like with Sylvanas, like just generically good Discover Hunter, got some good cards. I think we'll see a lot of the whelps. I should have mentioned this before in the brawl. Like the brawl section, those new 3-mana whelps are good. Like this poison one can control the board pretty effectively. The 4/1 lifesteal does a lot. I don't think we're gonna see a lot of stuff like hand buff priest. I think it's a little too niche. And I think like the array shamans like kind of probably have a lot of really bad builds. No hate. But people are just gonna put all the cards in the deck and be like, oh, this doesn't work, because it doesn't really work that way. But we'll see like a ton of Muradin, another like card that's gonna see a lot of play. I think Tito, you're right. We're gonna see a lot of Rafam. I think you don't see it in the brawl because people didn't open it. It's one of those situations like maybe people really wanted to play Rafam, but they didn't open it. Warrior got a ton of really good defensive cards. Like, Unleash the Colossus into Shell NATO is just so gross in the brawl right now, and Precursor Strike, stuff like that. I think we'll see a lot of shakeup in the first week. What remains after like week 1 is to be seen. But I think there's going to be a lot of high impact cards, which is great for this set. I'm talking about maybe a dozen plus cards that are probably going to see a lot of play, which I think was not the case for like Ungoro, even counting the quest.
And what you probably got to do is you got to hold back some of your deck building, so that way you let the meta settle after that first week, and then you hit them with the things that they weren't ready for because no one was thinking about them. I think we're going to see a lot of Dread Deserter, because that's not a new card, that's an old card, but that's the pirate that has charge if it didn't start in your deck. Because if you make a copy of it and double the stats with the copy, that counts as it didn't start in your deck. So that's going to be a card you're going to see in Druid. Uh, I I think we're going to see a lot of the Druid stuff. In fact, the other day in the brawl, I ran up against somebody that was playing like pretty much all the cards that we revealed, and I added them after the game because they beat me, and they had the Dodo and they had 2020 of stats. I was like, we revealed those cards. And I was so excited. But it was. I agree. I think we're going to see a lot. I'm hoping we see a lot of excitement. I'm hoping that things people just are excited to try new things and they land. And there's going to be the people that are just going to play the Dragon Slot package, and it's gonna make people sad. But I think the Zarimi Priest is going to be hard to pull off. I think that's that. I don't think that's an easy deck to make happen. I tried. I won with the deck. I played up against not in the brawl in the theory crafting. I played up against McBannerface, and he was the only reason I won was he was trying to do this really complicated druid deck where he was casting he was doing the doubling of the stats, and he had the location, and he got copy, and he also had what's her butt there from the one that was banned that gives us a location that we all play in every deck.
Elise.
Elise. So he had Elise, he had the Zinajari or whatever, and then he had one Protoss spell to give him the Protoss thing with charge, and he was copying and double it and copying and double it, and it was definitely not refined. And I think that was the only reason I won. But it was fun. I think we're going to see. I think there's tools here that people are excited about, and it definitely doesn't feel like what's encouraging to me the most part is I think the packages are smaller and more confined, if they're packages at all in some cases. So it's not going to feel like, oh hey, quest didn't work, so most of my cards are useless. And this is something we've talked about. If the Fable doesn't land, that's only one card. Even though it gives you three, that's only one card. If another part of it does, nothing really feels, with a few exceptions, feels like a deck is the cards that we're getting for each class are revolved around a particular strategy completely, and if that strategy misses, then the cards aren't going to be useful. So I think that there's going to be cards that are going to have an impact. I think the shaman cards are going to be very impactful. I feel like the shaman nature decks are going to be a kind of a high skill cap thing. So I'm interested about that. I think Storm Rook. I think that's a pretty strong card that can get out of hand really fast. You can build a quick board. You can really kind of flip things with that. The the guy with the hammer is going to be really really good and strong. I think you don't need to build a deck around him. He just can be in a deck and be a powerful tool. The I'm very excited. I have to say that I think that we are in a good spot. Small tweaks to the meta to get rid of some of the problematic issues and let these new cards shine. And I really hope they are aggressive with that. You can always nerf a card and then rebuff it if you have to. You can make a card unplayable and then say, okay, well, we'll make it playable again because now I think we have a little idea what's going on. So I really hope they are aggressive with that. Do you think there's any you think there's any cards that are like sleepers or decks that people are going to kind of that are going to come out of the blue that people aren't ready for? Or are you going to hold that back for your own? Because I see that in the chat, Toucher is saying you kick his butt all the time. So do you want to save a new deck just to beat him?
No hate there, not on purpose. Let's see. Underrated cards. It's a good question. I think. I don't know. I can't think of too much that was like overrated. I think there's a bunch of stuff that's overrated. Like I think Husk is overrated still. Like I still stand by that opinion. It's annoying. But every time I saw it in the brawl, it was just like they were already in a losing position when I was dealing like fatal damage to them. It was just like one more road bump. So like it's good, but like that deck is pretty tight on corpse spending already with like Pterodox and explosion and stuff like that. So like I think that card's a little overrated. As crazy it seems, I think Serpent is still underrated. Like that card's absolutely insane. Like I don't see how that card doesn't get nerfed. Like there's no world where that or Muradin don't get nerfed. Like everybody kind of knows that Muradin's busted and everyone knows that Serpent's strong, but I just don't see Serpent staying at that stat line cost. Like it is so so good. I think there's also some like what was I thinking? I was thinking about something else and um I can't come up with. I think Imbue Druid's actually got a lot of good stuff this set. It's not like the most exciting deck, but it got a whole bunch of really great low cost nature spells. Especially there's the one that what was it? Ebb and Flow, I think, is the 2 mana that does 3 damage, gains
Yes.
5 armor. Yeah, like that's a really great card. Like that deck has struggles to close out games sometimes or deal with early boards, and that's a really good one. So, I not too many that I think are under, but I think there's a whole bunch that are over. Even though I'm excited for the set in general.
How about yourself, Pylet?
Um, yeah, I feel like a lot of our evaluations of cards are pretty spot on. I think if I had to pick a couple that I think are sleepers or have a better chance of what I would expect to kind of find a place in the first week, I really think, especially after playing against it in the brawl, I could see Control Priest finding a build sooner than it normally does for a new set. Especially some sort of like, I think Imbue Control Priest actually has a chance now. When we had Imbue Priest before, we went with the aggro route. I think now that the top end is figured out and Cease to Exist is a really strong card. That's the rewind on that, really helps balance things out. I think that Priest got enough tools to build a control deck earlier than normal. And then this is more going totally out on a limb, and this might be more wishful thinking than realistic thinking, but I think we find a functioning version of the Dragon Mage within the first week. It's going to be weird to figure out the balance in that deck and figure out what else goes around it. But I was looking through the Alter Time, the Discover 2 arcane spells from the past, they cost 2 less. That pool is huge, but there's some really big hits in that pool. There's enough hits to make that risk very much worth it. To where you've got a lot of damage, you've got a lot of rerolls in that. You've got like Evocation, fill your hand with temporary spells. You've got a lot of interesting cards that I think gives that deck a chance to find something tier 3 early on. I don't know if it stays there, but I think something will be found.
All right. And I agree with everybody. I don't think we need to get too much into that. I'm going to add a question here that's not in the show notes. WorldEight, and you may not have an answer, so just feel like that. What do you think the most Timmy deck is going to be?
The most Timmy deck is probably going to be Druid. Like that's pretty typical. Like you play Krona pretty reliably, and then the rest, like half the deck, is big dumb stuff. So I think maybe Reform speaks to that as well. But I think that the Druid deck is probably the most Timmy one.
What about you, Pylet? You got any thoughts on a big Timmy deck? What's our Rye Cleaver this time around?
Broxigar. People trying to repeat Broxigar. Me repeating Broxigar multiple times.
Yeah, that one's gonna be hard because I remember like I played it a few times. It was hard to find portals. So I think we really need to. I think people are thinking how to build that deck wrong. Like I don't know. I don't think that what we thought about early on. Like someone's gonna figure it out, but I don't think what we have right now is it. Um, Obviously, we're still gonna try to make Rycleaver Hunter work. So hopefully, we get some tools that'll help with that. But yeah, I don't know. I think it's interesting. I think there will be some interesting decks in Druid. Not necessarily. I think with the Fabled, I think people are going to try some weird things with that are going to be like I said with the pirate there that goes charge and whatnot. I think those people are gonna. I think those are going to be some kind of ones that feel like they're going to be almost there, but they're not. So I guess we'll see. Uh, what do you think? Okay, WorldEight, what do you think is going to be strong? What is our quest paladin of this that starts off really strong? That on day one everyone's calling for it to be nerfed, but then as of like day 3 or 4, it's okay, but it's not dominating the meta anymore.
I actually think probably the druid that I was just mentioning, the Chrono Druid. Like, I think that's probably it's like kind of like Aviana Druid. Maybe a little bit stronger, but you really have to hit low for that deck to have more than really like one threat. Because it's only 5 cards that you're discounting, and it's kind of a very specific line. So like a control deck can kind of be like, all right, you played your one threat, that's cute. And you kind of have to, like, after that, if you don't hit low specifically, all your big stuff comes out in like trickles. And I think there are still going to be enough aggressive decks, at least through like, maybe not top 1K where they're allergic to aggro. Um, where, like you could still get under that deck, especially Demon Hunter, you red card, and the Traveler doesn't do anything and their whole game plan is shut off. Like that seems very realistic. So I think the Druid deck is going to be very good. Don't get me wrong, but I think it's also going to be overrated. And maybe I'll die on that opinion, but I think that even with all the consistency, it can still get run over, and it really probably only has one good thing that it cheats out at any given time.
I thought it was interesting that I felt like the low deck with the not the dredge, but putting stuff on the bottom, making it cost. There was some anti synergy there because you can get things to cost like 1 on the bottom of the deck, but then if you play low, they then cost 5. So I think it's going to be good. I don't think it's too detrimental to not use the cards, but I think there'll be some interesting things where you can be like, oh, I'm going to get this card. Wait, it costs 5 now. Crap. Pilot, you got any thoughts on anything that's going to start off strong and then fade?
Um, my prediction: old deck using the new cards that I think kind of fade out would be uh Death Knight. I think people are going to throw in Husk and Talanji into kind of the existing Death Knights, and they're not going to make as much impact as they want. And new deck, I think that Face Hunter will probably come out of the gates pretty quickly and then fade off as people stop playing bad decks.
That's fair. I think actually I disagree on the Death Knight in the way that I don't disagree that it might not be like if it might not fade after be played a lot and then fade whatever, but Basamti felt pretty good to me, and also Husk. You don't have to. I think if you're playing a deck that doesn't burn corpses, like if you're not spending corpses, that it's a fine card to play. It's going to be okay. It's probably your 28th card, and it's going to win you some games just by keeping you in it because I'm not spending my corpses. Hey, I just, you didn't have enough to get over the line twice and I survived. Don't One thing remember, it does change your life total. So if you come back with 3, your max health is now 3. So that's just one thing to kind of keep in mind. But I think Wasamdi is probably going to be one of those things where once we find the right kind of build for it, it's going to be good. It might not be until after rotation, but it did feel really good to me. And as long as you kind of plan your boons out properly and say, what's my matchup? okay, so in this particular matchup, I'm going to need to make sure that I really get the rush first, and the cards you get out of the Bosamdi after it dies are really good. I don't know. I think there's a lot of potential there if we have the right balance in the deck. Um, I I'm not sure about this as far as what I think is going to start off strong and fade. I don't know if it's going to be Druid. I think it might be the something death Demon Hunter. I think that even maybe like we're talking about how powerful the snake is, and I agree that's a really strong card. But I wouldn't be surprised if we find a way to counter out that deck pretty quickly after a couple days after it kind of just being a very aggressive, powerful thing while people are trying to do the fun new things. I think that'd be kind of a deck that's going to start off and people will be like, oh, we need to change this. But then it ends up being, you know, a good deck, but not something that's so overly dramatic. All right. Does anybody have any final thoughts on the new set opening up on Tuesday before we wrap this show up?
I think it's a lot more exciting than the first two sets this year. It's still slow, but I felt like Imbue and especially Quest, they were all in on the set. Like Rogue and Aguro was the prime example of this, where the whole set was dedicated to a quest that was really bad. This time it's a lot more flexible. I think they gave themselves a lot of like the Fabled was just like brilliant. More so than the Rewind. The Rewind's fine. But Fable will allow them to basically print like a whole like three sets. And they also didn't this struck me as something they haven't done since maybe even like Titans. It's been a while where they like are just like, here's a bunch of good cards for your class. This is the last set of the year. They're not explicitly like you play these cards together, maybe some of them like the Enraged Shaman cards, but just a bunch of good cards together. And so I don't know. I think it's I think also like we saw that there's still going to be this like I always bring it back to like any of these new decks, someone's just going to queue up Fire Rogue, they're going to queue up Quest Warlock, they're going to stomp a whole bunch of people day one, and it feels good to win. So it's in some of the new decks will become competitive, but don't be angry if someone's playing an old deck, because not everybody can afford the new thing, and a lot of people just like to win, and it's going to be an effective way to cut through competition.
Yeah, I've said before when I hadn't hit legend yet, I definitely would on day one take the most aggressive deck that I knew would work and try to eke out some wins there. So it's just have fun. Um, and just remember, no matter how things feel on day one, it's not going to be the same on day three. It's not going to be the same thing on day five. If you're frustrated by seeing some stuff, step away, come back the next day and see what's changed because it's going to change. And then WorldEight will come on his podcast Saturday and to tell us what we're doing right and wrong, and that'll shift the meta, and we'll get there. So, Pylet, did you have any final thoughts before we move on?
Yeah, I'm really excited that we got just a bunch of generic, good cards to play around with. I am concerned with kind of the big three, big four decks that we see currently. The Quest Warlock, Fire Rogue, Death Knight. How much are those just going to stranglehold? Because the new cards need experimentation. It's not super clear like this is how this deck is built, like we had with the Quest and Imbue, to where you put all those cards in and then you'll have 5 card slots left to put in whatever generic good cards, or the Dragon slot package. So that's what kind of worries me, is if we have enough breathing room around those, especially just because of the consistency of Warlock and the mana cheat of Rogue. Those are the two things that worry me. Of the stuff that we have takes a little bit of time to get going. I think in the end stuff is more powerful than those. The question is, do we have the time to get there? And that's what I'm concerned with and hopeful that I'm wrong about.
And if people are playing Fire Wreck Rogue, just remember that they got hot garbage the last 2 sets for cards. Like, at least they're Fabled. Oh my god, is so bad. But it's fun. I like that's the thing. That's the thing that bothers me a little bit is because their quest was horrible, and this I love the concept of what they did here. I want King Lane to be at least playable and whatnot, but it just feels so bad. And that's 2 sets in a row. Remember when Rogue had like 3 sets in a row where they got nothing, and then all of a sudden they got like mechs, and then we were playing Mech Rogue for like a year and a half. So keep in mind that maybe what if people are playing old decks too, they like playing their class, and maybe they just didn't get in their class something that appealed to them, so they stick to it. So and whatever, people play what they want to play. I hate Protoss Priest, but I know a lot of people love it, so I don't get mad that people are playing Protoss Priest. I just kind of want it to go away, not that they're playing it. If you play a deck, you like it, it's happy.
I get that. I'm more okay with it when it's class cards than the same top end of neutral cards that they just play 2 turns earlier than everyone else because they have Scoundrel. I think that's where I get frustrated. I'm like, oh, here we go again.
Yep. All right. So WorldEight, question of the week for you. You're how old's your son? That's not the question.
Okay. He's in, elementary school. Older
Okay,
one.
so
Yeah.
after you take him trick or treating, what are the candy you're taking out of his candy as the parent tax?
Oh, good question. Parent tax. Some of the chocolates. He's like okay-ish on. So I don't know. I like Reese's. I'll take a Reese's or two. Especially because it's one of those candies that you go to your local grocery store or Walmart or something, and you get the big bag of it. And they'll actually there's just like a ton of chocolate in there. So yeah, probably like a Reese's peanut butter cup or two.
Good choice. And the right answer is Kit Kat, but it's good. Reese's is a close second. If you'd like to support our show, you can do so by joining us over at patreon.com/breadandbutterhs. Fixed, no longer weird. So just bread and butter HS, easy to remember, great. You get raw audio early most of the time, unless AWS goes down, then you'll get raw audio after the episode. But that's going to happen only like once a year, twice a year, whatever. I don't know. If whatever. You can also find us at Bread and Butter HS on YouTube. Right now, we are not streaming to YouTube yet because of some just procedural stuff, but eventually we'll be streaming there. We also stream live at Bread and Butter HS on Twitch. But you also get access if you join the Discord. If you join the Patreon, you get access to a members channel on Discord where people like WorldEight will be there. And if you know they're coming on in our next episode, you can ask questions, you can help steer the conversation, you can suggest guests, you can suggest topics. We will listen to you. You can just help shape us. And if you'd like to support us with a non-financial way, just let people know about the show. Let us know how we're doing. We're trying here. Also, we have a couple new we have a new patron. So I'd like to thank our patrons, Dennis and Joltik and Torby Flenderson, who have been great supporters. We had a few new patrons, but they have since canceled their patrons because they were just there for the contest, which I completely respect. But just so you know, listen, when we have giveaways, we plan on rewarding our patrons, and if you're there, it might, might be quick. And if you're already a patron, you might have a good chance to win things. That's all I'm saying. And it helps us support ourselves and just keep this podcast going. And that's it. So WorldEight, where can people find you aside from playing and beating the Toucher on ladder?
I'm mostly involved on Discord. I respond to most DMs at WorldEight. You can also find me posting on X, WorldEight HS. I stream kind of like, semi-regularly on Twitch, WorldEight_HS. And you can listen to me on the Vicious Syndicate podcast. We're putting out like maybe 2 episodes a month, a little less than that. But frequently enough, and we'll definitely have one very soon after the expansion launches.
Pylet, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter, X, and Blue Sky at Pylet712, Pylet, as well as Discord.
And you can find me on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, and wherever else fine leather goods are sold at Tito Santana HS. If there's a platform I'm not on and you wish I was there, let me know. You can also find the podcast Bread and Butter HS most places now. If we're not there too, just let me know and we'll make sure we get there. We're gradually expanding and building our empire. WorldEight, do you have anything you'd like to promote or shout out this week?
I mean, always promote the VS podcast. There's a lot of work that goes behind the scenes there, and sometimes we have very long podcasts. So and that's part of big chunk of what I do as a content creator. I want to shout out my wife. I've done that before, but she really went over up, beyond parental standards with this costume for our son, and he absolutely loved it. Like, it was, it took her a week to do, and he was using it for maybe 1 hour, but it was like just this incredible, like, one of those he'll remember it for maybe his whole life, what his mom made. So I just got to give her a shout out because she was awesome this week.
Awesome. And those core memories they're huge. Absolutely. Pylet, any shout outs or things to promote this week?
I'm also going to shout out family. Going to shout out to my aunt, who been in the hospital for past few weeks, kind of sort of waiting on a diagnosis. Tests have been unconclusive, but it's mainly because the first hospital was questionable with how they were handling things, but most likely dealing with lung cancer. But she's doing much better. Got to see her past couple weekends, and seeing the change from last weekend to yesterday was insane. But also there's a ton of us family who just happened to visit at the same time. I think that there were 3 or 4 different family groups who showed up like all within an hour, so got to see them and chat with them a little bit and visit. So that was always nice, even considering the circumstances.
For a second there, I thought you were going to say I'm also going to shout out WorldEight's wife, and I was really confused there for a second. I'm gonna shout out Steven Jessica Giorgio, who offered me a trade last week in fantasy football, and that's helping me beat him this week, which is very, very kind of him. So we're going to be beating we're ahead looking right now. They have one person yet to play, and I have about an 18-point lead, so it's not out of the realm. But they need some really big things out of their tight end, Jake Ferguson, and I don't think they're going to get it. So thanks, Just a Guy. We appreciate it. And I also want to shout out Edel. Like I said, I do the coachings for Coin Concede that are a benefit of their patron. And it's definitely well worth it, and helped get me towards some early 6 wins, which helped me early packs and helped me win the brawl. So I've really enjoyed that. But anyway, guys, I think that's it. I think we're toast. We'll see ya.
See ya.
All right, take care.
Yeah. And one of the things that we've talked about as far as for patrons is, like, we have a little chit chat before the show and after the show, cold open and cold closing, I guess, as you will. And they like having that in the raw audio. So, yeah, fun stuff.
Yeah, it was good. That's fun to talk about. I like putting myself out on the limb and being open to being wrong. I was too optimistic about pretty much all of Ungoro. But I make my opinions. And we just did the card design contest for VS, and people are pretty salty that their designs didn't win. And some of them just didn't have good designs. Like, I'm sorry. Like there are some cards that people designed that were just like incredibly busted, and they're like, it was really fun. I'm like, yeah, but if you play the card, you win the game. Like, it's kind of fun for you. Or there were ones that were like really good thematically, but like didn't like didn't really make sense if you ever put it in a deck. And that's like one of my big criticism. Like, I really liked this card, but I would never play it. right? Like I totally get the theme. The mechanic is really cool. You would never play this card. And so like I had to veto some cards because I'm like, this never makes it into any kind of deck. Because I built tons of decks. And one of the things I have to think about is like, what's a realistic, not curve, but like what happens like you've got this card and you're trying to play it turns 4, 5, 6. Can you play it? And a lot of them are like overly specific that you have to have it on curve and be doing this other thing, and your opponent is like AFK. I think the last thing is like if your opponent, like they're all like kind of like if my opponent isn't doing anything, because a lot of times you're like under pressure, right? Like to be like, okay, I've got to advance my game plan while my opponent's doing his thing, and like the conditions are too steep, even though the card design is really cool. So like on X they sent all the cards, and like specifically the shaman one that was one of the winners was like, this is kind of boring, a lot of people said. I'm like, of all the cards that people submitted, this was just like solid design, right? And sometimes boring is not the worst thing in the world because it still did something unique to the set. So that takes a lot of time to do these contests, and we put the video out for the Patreon supporters, and it was like 3 hours of going through it. And I'm like, okay, if you really don't like the reasoning, then watch the video. Like you skip to the end and you're like, oh, my card lost. And it's like, okay, we talked about most cards for like just as much as we talk about the pre-release card, like in the pre-release reviews here. So like, it's not that your card wasn't considered. And there's pretty good reason why we passed on it or we pushed something else. But I got a lot of flack from this contest, and I'm like, I didn't really even want to be doing this. This is like something I didn't. Yeah, I signed up for it, right? Like I knew this was part of it. But it's not like I take pleasure in dumping on people's cards. Like that's not what I'm there for. Like for me, I'm the person that's like, oh, I have to cut, like more so than like, you're all terrible. So yeah, I didn't really go into that on this podcast because I don't know. I don't want to talk too much about VS on your podcast, right? Because I like this podcast being independent and doing everything that you guys are doing.
Yeah, we appreciate that. And yeah, it's hard. Like people think that, oh, this card wins the game. Yeah, so and it's not like what are the cards? The cards that are really, really good usually aren't super exciting, right? It's like hey, play this on 1 mana, get a 2 mana card in your hand. We play that in like every other deck, but it's not like it's not brain science. It's not whatever. It's just like what was the card that we revealed that was really, it's like deal 3 damage, gain
Yeah, ebb
5
and
armor if you
flow.
played a
Like that.
minion. Ebb and flow.
Yeah, like that card's gonna see. I think it's gonna see a lot of play.
Yep.
And it's kind of boring, but it's kind of essential. Like so,
It
and like
just
the
does the
design,
thing.
like the design is enough that the decks that really really want the armor might actually struggle to find the minion. So I think that's like, it was pretty clever way to do it.
I thought
Yeah.
so too. So yeah, but that's this kind of thing. I think if I ever was into one of those contests again, I would try to think about something utility, right? Something that's just kind of like it fills a need that maybe a lot of decks are missing, or some decks are missing. That just gets you a little bit of a glue card that gets you maybe a little bit of a swing or whatever. Not like hey, take all your enemy minions and put them on your side of the board and they all have charge. Like, no, that's not a good card. That's
Yeah.
not something
Yeah,
anybody's gonna play.
one of the submissions was a 7 mana Paladin Dragon 4/12, and it basically casts Timeout, and your next healing effect is quadrupled. So we're like, okay, you play this on 7, it's a timeout, then you play Gelbin on 8, and it has a 4 heal that becomes 16 heal and everything. It's like, that's so incredibly busted. I'm like, maybe if you just had a dragon that casts timeout, that would be kind of cool, but like, why Reno the next turn too? Like that was too much, man.
Yeah, I think I would
So
try to do like you need if you want to make a really powerful card like that, it has to have a detriment, right? There has to be a cost playing
well,
it. Like,
the part of the card was your opponent gets timed out. Like you can't attack them; they're immune too.
oh,
So like
okay,
there was like kind of elegant balance there. It was just like why quadruple the healing? Like why was that part of it? I was like, well, I can't edit the card. I can't say this card should be doing because that's not what they submitted. And there was like another like 2 or 3 cards where I'm like, it's so close to being really, really good. And if you made this one change, it definitely would have passed, but that's not the card that you submitted.
right.
There's a 1 mana uh warlock spell that said basically cast 2 shreds of time for your deck. And I'm like, okay, I get it. You want to put draw in the aggressive deck, and there's a downside to this. I totally get this. But first of all, 2 shreds of time, 6 damage for a card is like each card is or 2 cards is brutal. Right.
Hmm.
And if I don't have shreds of time in my deck, this card is nothing. Right? Like if you made this 1 mana, draw a card, and then like if you have a shreds of time in your deck, cast it. Right? Like all the other shreds of time cards that like do something, and then if you do the shreds of time, you get some other thing. If you had made that card would have passed. It would have been great flavor. It would have solved a problem for the deck of draw. It has a reasonable, downside to it. So that wasn't the card that was submitted. So, it doesn't make the cut. So anyway, it's a long story short, but like spending a lot of time on content like you, Tito, and being like, okay, well, I'm still getting flamed for this anyway. I don't know if you get a lot of flames, but like, it can be very frustrating making content.
No, in fact, I don't mind flames. If I me getting flames would be engagement, and it's all about engagement. So actually, so if people, what I'm finding is what I'm researching and stuff is if people like or dislike stuff on Twitter, usually that's, I mean, on Twitter, on YouTube, that's good either way because it's engagement. It's people having a reaction, and some people might be just saying, no, I want less of this on my feed. But for some reason, like I'm watching, I'm like, why would anybody like dislike something that's like so innocuous at the stuff I'm doing? But it's just like anything that they give you is just positive in the engagement category, and that's what you're looking for. Um, yeah.
All right.
Now, as you're talking, I'm thinking about cards. I'm like, I should have entered. I didn't realize it was a contest.
Oh yeah. I think by the way, hand buff paladin is fine. You just play the new 4-drop, and that's your painter's virtue like backup, right? Like you have 4 hand buff cards. So Tito, I'll try and make something for you. The problem is that we lost all the from hand damage, right? There's no
Right.
outfit tailor, there's no Leroy, there's no South deck, there's no charge damage. I think that's the bigger problem for that deck than not having any buffs, but it could be possible. There's a lot of hand buff decks that just kind of like grind it out, like hand buff DK right now. Still wins games, just like vomit stats. Your opponent can't deal with it. And Tiger's plushie still in the game. That card's insane. Like that
Yes.
card is still so crazy strong. And it's like one of those cards I'm like, why isn't this seeing more play? And it's like it just doesn't have quite the home it used to. But in Hand Buff Paladin, it was so good. Like that card won games if it had 5 attack. Anyway, so Tito, I'll try and cook something up for you.
And I will feature it. I'll make videos for it. As long as it doesn't like go 0-17.
Okay. It'll probably go 50-50.
That's
But I don't know. Sometimes my decks like do really well. Like that Asteroid Shaman that I gave to Rise. Like he went like 14-3, he posted it, and then all of a sudden the deck like exploded. That was the 3 spell Asteroid Shaman that I made when Oracle is still 3 mana. Because there's like a whole bunch of Asteroid Shamans at like 40% win rate. And I was like, you know what? There's 8 cards in here that I would change, and I changed them, and then the deck like got to like a 49% win rate deck, which is like I felt very, very accomplished by that. That like a ton of people are playing that deck. Also, I'm running out of time. I got to make a deck for this year. Every year I make a deck that goes meta. I'm running out of time. I got to figure out something.
Which is
I
on
didn't,
theme for the expansion.
yeah, it's on theme. So, yeah, I gotta figure something out. But if I don't, I don't. I guess.
Have you not had one
This
Well,
featured
this
I
is
by
mean,
BS this year?
was that
Have you not had one this year?
no. And the year before that was Big Demon Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
Was pretty much my deck. And then was it not the year before that? I don't know. But Big Demon Hunter and Asteroid Charm are like my two pride ones. And like I played like the list for Rage Warrior was my list.
Yep.
But it wasn't like too innovative. It was just like a really tight list. Where I cut all the garbage out and then it just became like the list for like 6 months.
so Buff Hunter
Um,
wasn't you?
Hand Buff Hunter? No. Well, I mean, I trimmed that deck and I refined it, but my refinement was only like the bellhops. But the bellhops are pretty important.
Yeah.
There you go.
So
He was just the only one actually playing it till it caught on.
yeah. No, but I added the bellhops. You know what? I'll take that. I'll take that for like pushing it to like the next level. Because before that, people were playing like Zilliax, and it was like a whole turn slower. So yeah, because like bellhop, like bird watching into bellhop is so brutal. Like on the play, like I know it's just like a pair of 5/4s, but then you follow up with like a rampage and stuff like that. Like, and it's not like a high cost because then you can follow up with all this other stuff. Still like a super strong curve. It's just that the spot, like you lost that 3 cost card, and that's just too much.
But then you
yeah,
added
maybe
the pirate. That makes your spells cost 2 mana more for.
yeah. Oh yeah, I did that too. Yeah, I guess I had some sprinkles of stuff. Yeah, because like you never like Customs Enforcer was not seen before my qualifier run, like anywhere.
I got wrecked by Customs Enforcer sometime in the past
It's so
week.
good, like so much stuff. Like I was playing Wilted Priest and they dropped Customs Enforcer. I'm like, all right, bandages cost 2. Game over, man. And it's 5 health. I can't deal with that.
I think
so. Victim of my own success, maybe.
What was it? It was a quest mage that got it off of Spot the Difference, and I couldn't get rid of it, and it just destroyed me. I couldn't
it
do
kind
anything.
of destroys quest mage too.
I couldn't do anything efficient for like 3 turns because all my removal was generated. I forget what I was playing.
Yeah. All right. Well, I got to bounce, guys. Great podcast. Yeah. Take it easy.
Yes. Thanks for being on.
Good to have you. And everybody, we're gonna send you guys over to Terry. I was gonna go over to Schmoopy, but Schmoopy apparently it must be almost done because his raid settings. Oh, Terry's not allowing me to raid either. Because maybe we're just not. Oh, because we're probably not affiliate. They probably don't take raids from non-affiliates.
I don't think this one's able to raid.
I guess we're probably gonna have to figure out how to get affiliate at some point. But oh well. No, I think you can. We can raid. It's just that some people have turns off raids from non-affiliates, so that way they don't get like. So, anyway, thanks everybody for hanging out, and Pylet, thank you. We will probably talk to you tomorrow.
Yep.
All right. Have a good night.
See ya.